everyone, welcome back to the world of cinematics. It's been a week or so. We were traveling on the road last week, all in various places, but we're back. We're going to finish talking about Legacy-quels with one that I wish we had Brendan for. We all like this movie. He's probably the biggest fan of it.
I think so. Yeah.
But before we get into it, we're going to talk about another big topic of interest these days, one that has had a lot of hype and a lot of concern building up to it. And we'll dive right into whether or not the Rings of Power deserved any of the fuss either way. Stefan, we sat down, we watched both episodes.
Yep.
What'd you think?
So going into it, I was more on the fuss train. I'm pretty, what's the word?
Particular?
Particular, yeah. I think I described it best to Jed, just so he could understand. When I saw the picture of Galadriel with the sword way back several months ago at this point, I thought, this doesn't work for me. And he said, well, why not? And I said, well, it's like Yoda having the lightsaber for me. I felt like Galadriel was above that sort of thing. And Jed's not a fan of Yoda and the lightsaber, and I actually can respect that somewhat. And Galadriel, for me, was essentially the same thing. So I didn't have plans to watch it. I happened to be here. Jed's like, it's out. I said, okay, let's try it. And I think both of us came to the conclusion that there was no reason to have any particular hype or fuss, because we've seen two episodes. The first two they released. That's an eighth. Is that a quarter of the way through?
We're a quarter of the way through the first season.
Quarter of the way through, and it lacks the oomph, it lacks the drive, it lacks the hook. I think that was both of our conclusion. It was pretty inoffensive, pretty harmless, cool, but it's not really doing it for me so far. Right,
and separating it from the question of like, does this capture the spirit of Tolkien, or does this perfectly match every bit of lore? Setting that aside, just judging it on its own merits, it's fine. There was nothing that I disliked in it. I liked a lot of the actors. I thought they were doing a good job. I liked a lot of the characters. The production is amazing. The CGI, the sets, just the design of everything. I really liked the music. The main theme, composed by Howard Shore, coming back to do this. It never hooked you. It's just, okay, this is fine, but there's nothing to compel me to hit next episode. Which, you compare it to House of the Dragon, which just came out a few weeks earlier, and both episodes we've had of House of the Dragon so far have been slow burns. But there have been things happening in those episodes, and those things that happen make me want to see what happens next.
Yeah.
It's establishing character relationships and making me say, oh, I understand, see how, the relationship between this uncle and niece, and their different relationships they have with, the person who ties them together, his brother, her father. And so when all of a sudden he says, my brother is not my successor, my daughter is my heir. We understand sociopolitically what this means. We understand how all these side characters, they're going to react this way, they're going to react that way. But we understand what it means for those core characters, and what they're, not just how they feel, what they're going to do. Yep. Which is really interesting. Going into the next episode, it's led us to interesting places. With Rings of Power, okay, I get who Galadriel is. I get who Elrond is. I get who,
Can we name the characters?
Yeah, this is hard because, some of these are original characters we haven't spent as much time with. Like, Arondir, the Black Elf, I get his thing. I get Durin, I get Disu, his wife. But, like...
Nori the Harfoot?
Yeah.
Hobbit?
Yeah, like...
I was really curious what that was. I was like,
wink, wink, nod, nod.
These characters have been established, not all of that economically, but they've been established. But, like, okay, I get why Galadriel left the promise of, eternal bliss to continue fighting the good fight when no one else believes the fight even exists. But what's the interesting conflict? She's going to continue doing what we already saw her doing
for 2 episodes.
Elrond is going to work with his friend to hopefully do something.
They're gonna build a tower.
Okay, cool. I know down the line, this tower is going to house the furnace, they're going to forge the great rings, and Sauron is. There's a wonderful story there, but at this point, I'm just okay.
Yeah.
And do we need to know how? I don't know. Somebody printed the paper that the Death Star plans would be drawn on. I feel like they started this story too early. If you started it a little later, when it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we don't necessarily need to have Gandalf falling from the sky.
If that is Gandalf.
90% sure.
Yeah.
There's a 10%.
I mean, he was talking to bugs. It's got to be him.
Well,
yeah,
we do know
he's friends with hobbits too,
the Blue Wizards came during the Second Age after, Gandalf and Saruman, but we also don't know when in the Second Age we are, so it could be them.
Yeah, and
we don't know.
We don't know if they even have the rights to the Blue Wizards. There's actually rights issues with which books you can.
Yeah,
and characters,
and even which parts of which books.
Yeah, so it's very tedious waters that they're treading.
I did see something interesting that hearing this has piqued my interest more than anything in the show did. Do you remember the cool guy who's on the boat with Galadriel and they're going back?
Yeah.
And it was like, they're never going to do this. Wouldn't it be pretty cool if he's Sauron?
Yeah, that's
because
something
he's
we talked
the
about.
great leader who's trusted and everyone loves him, and because we're expecting it's just like, oh, it's this obviously evil but also charming guy. But if it's the charming and we thought good guy, that could be interesting.
But all of them were deceived.
I've
That would
heard
be a great way to deceive.
I've heard whispers that it's not Sauron, but that he is the Witch King.
Oh, so
I
he's
actually would like that.
Yeah.
he's Angmar or whatever.
Yeah, he's the Witch King of Angmar.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, instantly, just if that is true, then seeing him be, kind of rude, but also, okay, you see why he's doing all these things. Instantly, just knowing the destination, it puts it, the sense of Greek tragedy of, I know where it's going, but it hurts to watch.
Right, the prophecy will come to pass no matter what you do.
Yeah.
As long as the little boy is not one of the Wraiths, I remember you saying, what if this guy's I'm like, I don't need kid Wraith, I don't need to see that.
He's a little tiny Wraith right now.
Yeah, I know we see Theo's...
Now this is ring wraithing.
I know... I can remember the name of the kid. The kid's name is Theo, which doesn't feel... It feels a little weird, but fine.
Yeah.
I don't remember his mom's name. His dad is clearly not in the picture. Probably dead, but he's like, oh, he left, he didn't leave, so something's going on there.
Yeah.
Okay, he doesn't look like his mom at all. Maybe he looked like spitting image of his dad, but it's just weird that we know he has one family member who he looks nothing like.
Yeah.
But
Son, you're adopted.
That's more of a casting quibble than, acting or story or anything.
Right. I think
I have nothing of interest left to say.
all I can say is we forgot certain plot threads were happening. The different
Which
branches.
has happened before in Lord of the Rings, particularly in Two Towers, but even then you're like, oh yeah, this is happening. You're just like, oh, I forgot about this.
Yeah, this instead of oh you're right. It's more like oh yeah, this was the thing. I did enjoy the dwarves. I don't know that anyone is even capable of screwing up the dwarves. They're serious, but they're also they take themselves seriously, but they're good comic relief. I was just relieved that Durin's wife, Disu, she wasn't. There's a big hullabaloo about whether she has a beard or not, and the pigmentation of her skin and things like that. It doesn't really come up at all, and I'm just like, yeah, you guys don't have to mention it at all. Just have somebody who's good for the role, and she seems like she's good for the role. So
yeah,
far.
when you set all that aside, this is the first time a dwarf woman has ever been depicted. Not just like we've seen one on screen, just ever.
Name.
Never in the books, nothing. And watching her, I don't think, wow, this is the first dwarf woman. I wonder what she'll be like. It's just, oh yeah, she's a dwarf, obviously. Look at her. Yeah, of course. Everything she said and did, it felt perfectly natural.
Yeah, and it was wholesome to have just a family there.
Yeah.
And have that dynamic. They didn't show the kids. I get it, because dwarf kids are going to look really weird, because the adults look weird.
They showed him holding his head.
Holding the helmet.
Right.
Yeah.
So they never actually they show the kids, but not
They
directly.
show the kids, and I understand why they hid them.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah. it can't be pretty.
Yeah.
Try to make those adults, especially the ones with the noses as long as an eagle.
Mm-hmm.
Try making those look cute as a kid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they did that with like Baby Yoda, but it would take the masterminds at Disney of making things cute.
Right, and they grossly changed
Yeah.
the anatomy of the eye for
Uh-huh.
Baby Yoda. 'Cause
Uh-huh.
Yoda does not have eyes like that.
No, he does not.
But essentially, they are the same. He's just bigger and more wrinkled.
Mhm.
But I think the eyes was a big deal. So
Yeah.
you'd have to change something drastically with
Yeah.
dwarf children.
Robert, we've been talking a lot about this. What were your feelings on the first 2 episodes?
I did have fun watching them.
Mhm.
However, I kind of like with you guys, it's like, well, I don't really have a hook. Literally, the only hook is where is Sauron
Mm-hmm.
for me.
Where's
Which
Waldo?
we got a very
Yeah.
brief glimpse of him in the intro. I thought it was interesting that they've decided to distance themselves from the Jackson films because they do not have, like they don't share the rights with those films, and so they literally can't connect them. But that was literally just Sauron from the opening of Fellowship of the Ring, except he had a spear instead of a mace.
It
Not
looked
that,
cool.
yeah, not that I'm complaining. He looked great, but that was a little surprising.
Yeah, I mean, so that's literally the only thing that's kept me hooked so far. Is
Mhm.
like, but then in the second one, when they brought Durin, I was like, okay, I'm interested to know his story. 'Cause
Sure.
You hear so much about Durin, and I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
I kind of want to know. The other thing is the orc. That was cool. Then the
Yeah.
second one, it pops out and starts taking down Theo and all.
Yeah.
That was cool. So I do appreciate they went back to practical instead of like with the Hobbit, where
Yeah.
CG
all
orcs
CGI.
are-
Even in the all the concerns leading up to this show, anytime someone saw orcs, they said
Yeah, nobody
they've done
had,
a phenomenal job with those orcs.
nobody had qualms with the orcs.
Yeah.
yeah, no, and they make them creepy like orcs are supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like even just when they saw them frozen or something, when they went to was it Boguldur they went to?
No, it was some
Yeah,
kind
it's
of South
some-
Pole.
Yeah,
Castle.
some
Yeah,
sort of
tower. It's
Arctic
some
fortress of Sauron, some holdout.
Yeah, so when they went
They're
there,
frozen against the walls and stuff.
Yeah,
They
like
were
they're
creepy.
smashed.
Yeah.
and then when you see them alive, it's like
Mm.
that's actually
Or even
kinda
just
terrifying.
their hands grasping from a cave. I mean, we saw that bit in the trailer, but it was effective in the moment.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
all the filmmaking here was, it was up to par. It was pretty good. But in the writing, in the filmmaking, there was never any authorial, like, stamp, like, this is clearly this person's work. It feels more like a corporate product than a work of art that somebody made.
Yeah.
Like Amazon, wait. And also, just a minor thing.
Mhm.
Why do people feel the need to twirl their swords like the way they do?
Yeah, I
It
mean,
doesn't actually look that cool in my
Like-
opinion.
I get it if it's Star Wars because it's a lightsaber. It's made of light. It's not heavy.
Yeah.
And sure, elves are so strong; they're as light as a feather. But it's getting to the point where it's like, okay, yay, we get it.
we don't need a flourish. Like a flourish is something you do. It's kind of in my mind. It's something you do before a duel. It's like a salute.
Yeah.
Like if you do this with a sword, that's a salute to the other guy. Or if you're like doing this, maybe you're trying to get them off their guard, and then you
Mm.
start fighting. Then you don't flourish.
Even pistols have some, like revolvers.
Yeah.
They just roll the chamber, slap it back in.
Mm-hmm.
That's before a fight. They're not going to
Yeah.
do that right in the middle of it.
Afterwards, including an overt lack of a flourish, would I think make it look even more impressive because it's like, yeah, I kill ice trolls for breakfast. Who cares?
Well,
Yeah.
to play devil's advocate and put
Mm.
it in perspective, you
Mhm.
guys would appreciate. So she kills that whatever the freak that
Yeah.
thing was at the very beginning, and then she does a flourish.
Mhm.
Maybe that's their version of teabagging. Like that's how they show disrespect. They're like,
As
"Ha,
an
I
avid-
killed you." Ha,
As an avid Halo
flourish.
player, I appreciate this.
Yeah,
I
so-
I may appreciate a character doing that, but the Galadriel they established is too serious for that.
Mm.
Mhm. Now, if it was like Elrond, he probably
Like it'd be
would.
like watching. It'd be like Batman saying, "Haha, look at you, I beat you." I could see Spider-Man doing that, not Batman.
Yeah.
Like, are you sure you're a supervillain?
Mhm.
Something like that. I do gotta say though, for what I would change for that, like not having her spin the sword to show elven strength.
Like I didn't
It's a
mind her
pro-
doing all those acrobatics and spinning
Yeah, that
stuff
was cool.
while fighting the troll. Like
That's-
it's not what I
That's
would have gone
typical
for,
of
Yeah.
action,
but sure, I can go with that.
But like, if you want to show their strength wielding a broadsword, just have them wield it one-handed. That's impressive
Like she
in
did.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need to have the twirl. That's like I'm already impressed. She just took down a guy with a broadsword with one arm.
Yeah.
While flipping.
And I have to say...
Was it a broadsword?
Yeah, it was broadsword.
Okay.
I don't remember any other particularly gory moments, but that opening fight with the ice troll, I was surprised to see this monster's jaw split open by a sword in the bottom half and see the two halves just kind of hang there a little bit before having, the blade stab through their skull. So I liked that. I hope we see more, as it gets, further along and more action-packed in the story.
Yeah, they've kept the violence, because it's not a battle sequence.
Yeah.
They make it more gruesome, kind of like Fellowship ends with a very gruesome fight.
Yes.
So the orc, they stab him with a saw and a knife, and then they try to hang him, and then finally they cut off his head. I was like, holy crap, it's taken forever, but it made sense.
It's two people who aren't warriors, and yeah.
But still, I was like, man, this orc is a trooper. If I got stabbed once, I'd be like, okay.
They're just like, ow, what the heck?
I'm just sits down like, all right,
I'm
fine,
going
fine.
home.
We will talk this out.
I would have tried to go in the tunnel and find my comrades and say, these people are crazy.
Let's go back into hiding, quick. These people are...
I invoke the right to parlay.
Yeah. Parlay.
Even the orc just looks up instead of like gravelly sound, he's just like, parlay.
That's kind of how the Uruk-hai sounded in Two Towers. You're like, look like meat's back on the menu, boys.
That's... What are you doing? I'm reading the Bible. You can't even read, you get credit for trying.
Oh gosh.
Anywho.
Yeah, do you have anything else you want to say about Rings of Power?
No, if people really like it that I know, I might watch the rest of it. Otherwise, I'll just let it sit.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people just absolutely in love with it. I've seen some people saying this is a betrayal of everything they were hoping for, and their worst dreams or worst nightmares confirmed. I'm just looking at both of them saying, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't love it, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I was entertained.
It wasn't...
I don't regret watching it.
Like, when you hear things like... like there's...
First season cost $750 million.
Or just that they have,
What?
Oh yeah, this is the most expensive season of television ever. They paid $250 million for the rights, and then $500 million on the first season.
So if we pour more money into it...
I think
Alright, I'm buying more Amazon stuff.
More along the lines of they have a nudist counselor or whatever the heck that was a couple of years back. And we're all just like, what the heck is this show gonna be, It's not nowhere near that.
Right.
And when people are like, people get really angry when they say, it's the first black dwarf or elf or whatever.
Sure.
And it's like, I would prefer, personally, they just don't talk about it and just show us what they've got rather than saying, look at me. It's like, I don't care. Show me what you've got. That's what I care about.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah, is your story good? Is their acting good?
I will say this. I think this show has been an excellent showcase of not listening to what actors say beforehand. A lot of the time, actors will try and... They want to feel important, and so they want to make their work sound important. And so they say, this is all going to be about... What are some hot button things today? This is going to be about Trump and gay rights and how, Black Lives Matter and all that. And then you watch this, not a single cent of that. Nothing.
No.
Just ignore what they're saying. Most actors are morons. Talented morons, but morons. And so just ignore what they're saying, watch it, and then decide if you're going to get upset or not.
Yeah, let them show you what they've got, and if they actually are telling you the truth, then you don't have to participate.
Nope.
It's fine.
Nope.
And if you want to participate and review it and everything else and be angry about it,
you have every right.
Yeah. I just don't have the energy to do
Yeah,
it, so.
it's not my style, but sure, go wild if it makes you happy.
Right. Shall we move on to Top Gun then? I think that's a good place to jump off of, is our impressions of the old one.
Yes.
I'll give it a start. I watched it as a kid, didn't like it. Watched it as a teenager, didn't like it. Watched it recently as an adult, didn't like it. I don't like Top Gun, the original story. I always remember liking the jet stuff. I liked the fighting and some of the drama. I didn't care that Goose died. I felt bad for his family, but I didn't really care that he died. But Top Gun Maverick's way better. I'll just put it that way. My impression of the first one was I was like, as a kid, I was like, why are they yelling at each other? Why is he like, oh, I can't hear you, and turn off your bike if you can't hear. Oh, he's running away, and she's chasing him in traffic, and then they're just like, yeah. I didn't get it as a kid. As an adult, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. So yeah, that was my impression.
I saw it for the first time when I think I was 17. My parents were not big on the idea of us watching it, and even when we did watch it, they fast-forwarded through quite a few moments, not just the one we're all thinking
just
of.
Just the volleyball scene.
Yes, just the volleyball scene. Actually, yeah, that might have been one of the ones they
spicy.
went through. But I remember liking it and not really getting why so many people revered it, but also thinking, maybe it's in the stuff that I didn't get to see. Then watching it as an adult, I'm like, this movie is kind of the ultimate Tony Scott movie in my eyes, where Ridley Scott, he's hit or miss, but when he hits, it's like masterpiece, changes cinema, it's going to be remembered forever. Tony Scott, when he hits, you're shoveling popcorn down your gullet and having a good time. It's not art, it's fun.
Right, yeah.
And that movie, for me, it's a whole lot of fun. Not great, not meant to be taken seriously, but fun.
Yeah. And the problem is, a lot of it they do take themselves seriously.
Yes.
And they needed to relax a little bit more and have a little more fun.
Like, not entirely, just a little.
Just a little. What did you think of the original?
You just saw it for the first time a little bit ago.
I saw it when I was 25. And now I'm 26. Yeah, so when I watched it, I kind of went in knowing it was going to be a goofy movie. Not the goofy movie.
Yeah,
but
not a goofy movie, but a goofy movie.
A goofy movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of went in like, it's going to be fun. So, watched it. I did have fun. I may or may not have counted how many times I played that song.
Highway to the Danger Zone.
Thank you, because I was about to say Highway to Hell. That's DC.
I think they play it 6 times in the original and 4 times in the new one.
I thought they only played it twice in the new one.
I don't know.
I thought they only played it once.
Counting is not my strong suit.
It might have been once. Because I thought I heard
it's definitely in the beginning. I don't remember
Right.
after that.
Because I thought when they found the new, or not the old, not the new, the old F4, was it the F-18? No, they were flying the F-18s.
F-14?
Yeah, it was an F-14.
Yeah.
So when they found the F-14, I thought they played just the first part of the song. As like a, hey, look, Easter egg!
Right.
But yeah, for the first one, I enjoyed it. I had fun. I saw the volleyball scene, and it's like, this is the gayest part of this entire movie.
Of an already very gay movie.
Which, funny enough, as a huge volleyball player, I saw it and I was like, yeah, I can see what you guys are saying. But, I mean, that's fun. I love playing beach volleyball.
Yeah.
So,
right, but you don't oil yourself up before you do
that.
They didn't see it.
Yes, you can't see the face he made.
Once we get another camera, if you subscribe, $4.99 a month on Anchor.fm, we'll be able to get 2 cameras.
And that way we can oil him down. And
yeah, you guys can see that.
We'll have a third camera for mud wrestling with Robert. Yeah.
I'll put a sensor block. It'll look like a t-shirt on me. No. So, yeah, the story, as far as the story goes, I wasn't like super intrigued about the whole thing. Except for the relationship between Hangman and...
Are we talking about the new one, or...
Sorry, not Hangman. Iceman.
Iceman.
Sorry.
Iceman and Maverick.
Iceman's basically... Or Hangman was basically Iceman for...
There was a lot of similarities.
But, yeah, so Iceman and Maverick and Goose. I like kind of the contention between them.
Yeah, competition.
Yeah, the competition. But in the end, like the military, you may compete with your comrades, your battle buddies.
But you have to be buddies.
But you're still...
You got to work together as a unit.
So they're professionals in that. And so when they're doing the training exercise, when Goose died, I did feel sad. I wanted to cry, mostly because, he left his
son.
It was less of his death, more of like the reaction from everyone else.
Right.
Like his death, I mean, there are training exercises where people die.
Yeah.
Happens a lot with SEALs. But, that was sad in itself, but I already knew he was going to die, so I wasn't super attached to him. Well, kind of. But, yeah, the reaction from, like, Tom Cruise and his wife, and I was struggling there. And I really like how, at the end, Iceman and him was like, you can be my wingman any day.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that. I really enjoyed that part.
Structurally, the first movie kind of a mess because it's about like, hey, we're all gonna join this academy and we're gonna see which one comes up on top and which one's the first in class, and that's what the conflict is. And then, okay, and now we'll go on a mission now that we've graduated, and we'll not start World War III, even though they probably should have. So that was just stuck there to have a climax.
A lot of it kind of feels like the plot of an anime.
Yeah.
Because it's like you got the hot teacher, you've got the rebel guy Maverick we're following, and then you have the guy, you gotta play by the rules, dude. And a gratuitous beach volleyball scene. And
it's always an anime if there's a beach scene.
Yeah, there's gonna be this intense volleyball, except for they didn't have to. We didn't slow motion and see their plays and
right.
their head and everything.
Almost,
but it is, if you look at it kind of like the plot to an anime, I feel like it's very close to the structure, and if that's something you're used to, then that's something that will be a lot easier for you to accept. But going in blind, I was like, what the heck am I watching? And obviously the jet stuff is always cool. Moving on to the film, unless we had any other.
Yeah, no.
To Maverick. Awesome experience in the movie theater. If you missed out on that in the movie theater,
it's still in most theaters.
You missed out. Go to it right now if you can. Just the opening.
Put us on your watch later and go watch that now.
Yeah, the opening in the original is very similar to the opening in the new one. Way better in the theater though. Just the and then I can't do it. It's copyright.
Sure.
But it was cool. And the opening is very awesome. Experimenting with a super fast jet. I don't know how he lived in that scenario, but it's still cool.
I actually saw a theory that he didn't. That he died in that fiery explosion. You know, he's visited by Kane. He's the last of a dying breed. You know, because the Admiral played by Ed Harris.
Yeah.
His name is Admiral Kane. Kane comes to visit him. He tries to avoid his incoming fate. He dies in a fiery explosion. And then the rest of it is kind of his journey through a purgatory, trying to reconcile with his past before he can fly off into the sunset.
Wow, I'm really glad that's probably not what it is.
It's probably not, but it's an interesting, at least, way to look at the structure and themes of it.
Yeah, that is an interesting theory.
Yes.
But yeah, this one blew me away just because the mission wasn't just this, last minute you graduated, we have a mission. The whole plot revolves around this mission and the fact that Tom Cruise is still the best pilot ever.
Yeah.
Like, might be better than Han Solo. I mean, he can't fly in space or anything, but you know, he's
maybe given the opportunity.
But he's just a really awesome pilot, and he's kicking the trash out of the cadets, and the new cadets, they don't steal his thunder. But he still has his own weaknesses and shortcomings he has to overcome. And so that dynamic between him and the pilots that he's training, I really liked.
I have a series of nitpicks for this movie.
Yeah.
None of them ruin the movie for me by any means. They just take it for me from an A+ to an A.
Yeah.
So I want to hear, this is the first one. You mentioned the pilots.
Yeah.
Do you remember how many pilots he was training?
Oh, he's training like at least a dozen, wasn't he?
I think it was 12. And out of those 12, we actually spend time with 6 of them.
Yeah, half of them.
Do you remember any of their names other than Rooster, Hangman, Phoenix, and Bob?
No.
Because there was another 2 who were just there to, oh, hey, I'm here, I'm in danger.
Oh, yeah, they were the ones who got, became unconscious. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm glad with that they didn't have them get killed off like Goose. That it was just, because I was like, whoa, they're just doing the same thing as the last one. But no, they became unconscious and they were able to save them, but it showed them that there are stakes to this mission and changing of altitude. But you are right, you don't remember the names of all of them.
I'm literally trying to think of what their names were.
Yeah.
Forget their names. Can you remember what they looked like or what they acted like?
They
could have been cardboard cutouts and it would have been hard to notice.
They were...
Yes, one of them was black.
Yeah. That's all I remember. honestly.
So on top of that, so that was nitpick number 1. Nitpick number 2 follows closely behind that. When we're introduced to many of these scenes, or many of these pilots, it's a fun scene in a bar. People are having fun, going not necessarily wild, but letting loose a little. Rooster walks in. This is his introduction. Now, Miles Teller is a terrific actor. If you haven't seen Whiplash, go watch it. It's on VidAngel. It's a wonderful movie. J.K. Simmons, who won an Oscar for it, said he would not have won that Oscar were not for Miles Teller playing opposite him.
Was that the band one?
Yeah.
He was the drummer. And, Dude, J.K. Simmons is scary in that.
Yeah. He is. But Miles Teller.
And funny, but
Miles Teller had a big, he had a very difficult role in that movie, and he stepped up to the plate. So when you have a terrific actor like that, I think you could get across to us that he is Goose's son without having him walk into the same bar wearing the same shirt and the same mustache and playing the same piano and singing the same song.
Yeah.
I will.
I know audiences are dumb, but give us a little credit.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this though: the song I get because he grew up with his dad playing it.
Well, his dad died when he was like 2.
Well, no, but he'll his mom would tell him stories. They had the pictures.
But
no.
He played that in a bar once, and because we saw it, it's probably not the only song that his dad played and sang.
Well, the way that they played it in the first Top Gun movie sounds like that's just kind of what they do in the bar.
Well, yeah, they play songs and sing along to them, not specifically "Great Balls of Fire."
Oh, I meant specifically that song.
Yeah.
Because, there's people I know who that's kind of just their thing. They're like, oh yeah, my dad did it, and that kind of picked it up too. So I'm fine with that, but yeah, I get what you mean by, you look exactly like Goose.
Yeah.
And your name's Rooster?
And I'm fine with some of those things, but all of them hammered so hard. It's okay, we get it.
Yeah, I'm indifferent.
That being said,
not passionate.
I liked Rooster. I think Miles Teller did a good job. He wasn't my favorite of the new pilots.
Bob
is a dark horse for a favorite, but he's not my favorite.
Iceman.
Hangman.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Hangman.
Hangman had more personality than the rest of them combined.
I do like Hangman. He's fun. Ladies and gentlemen, your savior's here.
And what I liked is that in this, they go the opposite than the original, where you have Iceman, who's he's top of his class,
he's not the Maverick. No pun intended. He's not the one who breaks all the rules and is risky and all that. He's the one who does everything perfectly, effortlessly.
And then he gets rewarded for it, where the Maverick,
He's the one who will go out of his way to risk himself and put himself in risky situations to do what people who do things perfectly, like Iceman, wouldn't.
Right, and the thing is, he's not necessarily... He suffers a little bit for that because there's an accident. In this, Hangman doesn't get the glory of Iceman until the very, very end, whereas Iceman got to share in the glory and have sort of a camaraderie and companionship with Maverick at the end of the first one. This one, Hangman is just sort of hanging back into the very end.
He's a great...
I like that they got to pull back on his pride a little bit.
Yeah.
And we got to see, this guy is capable and he is good, because before his idea is, if you guys die along the way, it's because you can't keep up.
Yeah.
But by the end, he's the guy who goes back to get the guys who fall.
He's Han Solo, because this movie is A New Hope.
Yeah, it's basically.
He's a great temporary antagonist when they're doing their training, but he does get a mini redemption, and I thought that was very well done.
I like that as well. I just like Maverick, that he's still Maverick, but and he'll break the rules and all that, and he's a great pilot. But he's more mature.
Yes, he's the same person, but it's been 30, almost 40 years, and you see that.
He's doing it a lot
Not in his face, but you see that in how he acts.
He's doing anything arrogant or cocky or showboaty is less for himself. It's more for others. Like at the very beginning, all the people who got together to make this happen so they could fly that supersonic jet is partly for them. And that's why they helped him. And then when he's training those people and he's showing them up, it's not to flaunt over them, it's to teach them a lesson so that they can learn from it and so that they can survive the mission.
And they even use nostalgic callbacks for those same purposes. Like when he buzzes the tower at the very beginning in that opening sequence, he's not just doing that because, it's Maverick and he sure likes buzzing the tower to be a jerk. No, he did it because he knew that would stall the Admiral so that he could have time to actually finish his test.
Right, yeah. And so that's something that I liked, is that you can see the hints of the old Maverick, but that there's more to him now, and he does have a side of seriousness that the younger Maverick did not have, but he's still the guy that will take risks and show you who's the boss in the air. Jennifer Connelly,
She's fine.
much better than the original
I agree.
lady, in my opinion. Can't even remember her name.
Terry something or other, I think. I
Yeah.
don't remember.
Because
Terry Crews.
it felt like there was some warmth, some chemistry between the two that wasn't just sexual tension. It's more like, I'm older.
You did feel that there was history between them.
Yeah, I'm older. I'm more mature. I have a daughter. Oh, you have a daughter. They still kind of act like teenagers a little bit.
Right.
But overall,
Go out the window.
yeah, out the window and all that stuff. And the scene where the daughter's like, "Don't you break her heart." I was like, yeah, it's time to be in a mature relationship. You're both 50 years old. You both look great, by the way. But it's time to move on and be mature. And hopefully, if they make another, I don't know that they will, they have the justification to do so.
Yeah, there certainly wasn't any plans to, but then it made $1.4 billion and counting.
Yeah, but if they do continue, it's like, yeah, go with her. It's not necessarily that it was the best romance of all time.
Yeah.
I just think it was.
It was functional.
It was just done better than the original, because them breaking up, finding out, oh no, he broke up with his old girlfriend way back when. I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
right.
So fine addition to the film is and that she and Iceman, ground and mature Maverick. It's nice to see Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Appreciate his efforts. Appreciate he even has the same stupid haircut. So
And smile.
well, yeah.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know and were kind of confused why Iceman was the way he was in this movie, Val Kilmer, the actor who portrays him, throat cancer, completely eliminated his ability to speech, kind of made his face look a little funny with this weird smile. But they said, okay, we'll do that same thing for him, but we'll say he can talk, but it just hurts his voice to do so he doesn't do it often. So in the one scene you do see him, lots of typing, lots of I'm looking concerned, I'm looking happy, I'm looking sad, and then he finally does speak.
Yeah.
And this is what I don't want to say that this is what Star Wars should be doing with things like this, because this is a unique situation. They've never had a legacy actor come back who can't speak anymore, but apparently reconstructing an entire human voice is much easier than reconstructing an entire human face.
Right.
Because that voice was wonderful, and much of what they do in Star Wars with CGI faces is not.
And it was limited as well.
Yes.
They didn't have to have several scenes. They had one scene.
It's just like
and then
3
they
or
had
4 lines.
3 lines or so. And it was nice. I didn't even know he couldn't speak, period. I thought he was actually talking, so they fooled me pretty good.
That caught me off guard. I thought he spoke like 2 words.
No. Yeah, it's a revolutionary thing that they've been working on with him, because, he's high profile, so he gets attention. He's also a movie star, so lots of movie footage of him talking, lots of interviews. And then, people will say, oh my gosh, that's Val Kilmer's voice. Oh my gosh, they did the impossible. Let's send money to this project.
Yeah. So, as far as Legacy-quels go, this one is definitely a vast improvement over the original. It's sort of like Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
I was about to say Blade Number. Blade Runner 2049. That one, I don't know about vast improvement. It has some things that, that I'm juggling around in my head.
Sure.
But overall, yeah, it's better than the original Blade Runner. So, and the same case with Top Gun Maverick. I'm kind of impressed, because usually Legacy-quels let me down. But these two, and more specifically Maverick, I was like,
right,
wow, this was actually a good movie.
Yeah.
I said to people, and they're like, how much do you like? And I say, if it came out 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have bothered to go see it. But the fact that something that would have been, middling to pretty good 10 years ago is like such a hit, such a phenomenon.
Yeah.
That that people, it's made so much money. It's like, yeah, it's kind of sad where a movie that would be middling in my mind in 2012, where it's like, oh, that was cool, good Tom Cruise pick, is just phenomenal. I think that is either sad for the movie industry, or or it's just a great thing, maybe a bit of both.
I'll say this. I think it can be done well when you're a Legacy-quel and you decide, I'm going to do pretty much exactly what the previous one did, but I'll modernize it. I'll add a few new characters. It can be done well. Like Force Awakens, it certainly is not my favorite Legacy-quel of all time, but it made a lot of money and it's a fine movie. Creed, I think, is the best example of we're doing essentially the same thing, but we're going to modernize it. Creed was a very good movie. And so I prefer it when they go the Blade Runner 2049 route or the Top Gun Maverick route, where we're taking characters that and we're just going to tell another story with them. We're not doing the same thing again because you've already seen the same thing again. Now, I do want to pose this. Comparing Blade Runner 2049 and Top Gun Maverick, okay, I don't think either of them are going to get a sequel. Maverick may because it made a lot of money and 2049 did not.
Nope.
But which do you think is the better approach for a Legacy-quel, in general, of course, it's going to differ case by case. Do you think it is better to Blade Runner 2049 mostly focus on the next generation and then, you do see Harrison Ford come back and he has an important role to play, but it's not his story? Or do you want it to still be Tom Cruise's story and you see the next generation coming up, but you do still see how Tom Cruise has gotten older and it's a different chapter?
It depends on the age. So
Yep.
I feel it was totally appropriate for Blade Runner to do what they did with Rick Deckard because he's 75 years old, man.
Yeah.
But Tom Cruise is young and fit enough. I mean, think of Harrison Ford in his 50s. He was essentially doing not the same thing as Tom Cruise.
He was still an action star.
A similar thing, yeah. He's still a high-profile action star.
Mm-hmm.
And if they did Star Wars when the sequels, when all the actors were in their 50s and 60s,
So like
I would say
when the prequels were coming out?
yeah, I would say do the Top Gun Maverick style.
Sure.
But when they're older, yeah, you need to pass it along.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just depends on the age of the actors, in my opinion.
That is
Depends on the story that you want to tell.
Yeah.
And if you want to do that route, it's like you better get those actors when they're young and can do that stuff, because once they reach 70 or so,
You lost your shot.
yeah, you have to tell a different and maybe a smarter story. Maybe not as
You
fun,
can't rely
not
on nostalgia and stuff.
Yeah, not as flying, not as much action, but a
Mhm.
more deep look into the character.
Which Blade Runner 2049?
That works for it
They
because
did a good
even
job.
the original movie, there was some action, but it was meant to be, here's a movie to think about. And so that works as a good approach for the sequel.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
with the sequel too, it's like, okay, we have the base ideas, like yes, he's a Blade Runner, he's a replicant,
Sure.
blah 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 blah. So we have the base storyline. We don't need the nostalgic character because we already have established what.
Are you going to get nostalgic for ideas?
And
Yeah,
and
exactly.
in the case of both, the amazing thing is they don't kill off the nostalgia character in
No.
either of those films, which is surprising, especially for Harrison Ford being really old and all that. They're like, no,
Old and unwilling to return to projects.
He's the character is old, but he has a daughter, and they're like, he has something that Joe
Yeah.
doesn't have, and so Joe he can pass away in peace, knowing that he did something, and then Harrison Ford and his daughter can have that life. Whereas with Maverick, he can step in and be the guy he probably should
kind of
have
be
been
the
for
surrogate
Rooster.
father for
Yeah.
Rooster.
And so you can, and I was just, a lot of the times it can be the easy way out, just be like, well, we'll just kill them off, and we won't have to worry about them.
Right.
But you really got to make sure that you really like the new people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just, it's kind of surprising they spared both of them
Yeah,
in these cases.
It's a very good thing that Top Gun Maverick did focus on Maverick, because I cared about very few of the new people, and I remember even less of them.
Yeah. So, overall, really like this one.
Mm-hmm. Great action, great cinematography. Like I'm surprised to say this. I don't know if Greg Fraser is going to win for the Batman, or if Top Gun Maverick is going to win for this movie. Both revolutionized cinematography.
It kind of makes you wish that it could come out and we didn't have COVID, because then they would definitely have won, and then Batman would win.
Yeah.
And that would be fair, but now we have to juggle between the two. It's like, dang it.
Yeah, because Maverick was supposed to come out 2020, so it would have been Top Gun Maverick in 2020, Dune in 2021, and the Batman in 2022.
And that would have been totally appropriate, but unfortunately, that's not the world we're living in.
Yeah, it's either way, a very appropriate winner is going to lose at the Oscars.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. I would just give it to Maverick just because it's kind of new filmmaking techniques and technologies and some existing stuff.
Yeah.
Like they talk about how when you're filming commercials for an airline, they have this little, it's either a plane or a drone that films right next to the airplane in real time, and they did that for this, and they had all kinds of cameras and setups. So that would be, normally I would say the Batman, but just because of the new technologies.
Yeah, it's a question between, are we measuring the arts or the sciences of cinematography?
Right, and if it's the sciences, yeah. If it's the art, probably the Batman. So
yeah.
I wouldn't be offended either way.
No,
but it has to be one of those films.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, great cinematography, great action, great character, good characters.
Yep.
I wouldn't say a great story, but it's a good one. It's one we've seen before in many places, but that's fine. We've never seen it in Top Gun, and it was done well.
A very patriotic film.
Yes.
We haven't seen a film this patriotic since ever.
Like I've seen a lot of people saying like, "Oh look, finally!"
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
look, it's a movie that's not woke. That's why it made over $1 billion. And I will say, if it were woke, it would not have made the money it did.
Yeah.
But it's not just that this movie is not woke. It is overtly patriotic. It is overtly, supportive of the military and all these things. Things that it's been a while since we've had a movie like that.
Right, it's not...
And not every movie needs to be.
Yeah, I actually agree with that, because it's not what a movie isn't. Because Rambo, what is that, 5?
The Last Blood.
Last one.
Yeah.
That wasn't woke, but it didn't
No, it's not
half
patriotic.
as well, and it's not, versus what Maverick is. It is all those things you described, and that's it. Because there's plenty of films, guys, out there that aren't woke. They don't do so well because maybe they're not good. This was good, and it had all those aspects to it that made it good. So, yeah, it's not what a movie isn't. It's what a movie is. So, filmmakers out there, if you want to make money or if you want to be successful, make your film something.
Yeah.
Make
And
something out of it.
I think a lot of movies or TV shows or whatever, kind of going back to Rings of Power, but also this, if they're governed by, we can't do this, we can't do that, whether in terms of story or content or tone or whatever, they're going to feel like they're made by a boardroom, but they're a corporate product.
Yeah.
This, while it's not like, an auteur's vision, it had authorial, intent behind it, both from Joseph Kosinski, director, and Tom Cruise, the producer and star.
Yep. So, good movie.
Yes, very good movie. It's not my favorite of the year so far. We'll talk about our favorites of the year so far, but I can guarantee that this is going to be very high on that list. We'll see how it turns out between all of us.
It's worthy seeing in the theaters, and it's worthy purchasing for home.
Yes.
And that's how good it is, I'd say. So.
You have any last thoughts about it, Robert?
Definitely fun. I'll probably be buying it and then watching it in VR because that's basically a theater.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, creators just make a movie for the fun of it. That's the biggest thing too. Is like Tom Cruise, he just loves making movies. He just has fun with it.
Yeah, he's been doing it for what, 40
He cares
years.
about it a lot.
He cares about it a ton, which is what we run to that problem with the corporate thing, is that they're looking at, I want to make enough money from this.
Yeah. How can I, reduce our margins and have a bigger profit? Which, yes, movie making is both an art and a business, so that's important, but that can't be all you think about.
But I noticed with this movie specifically, the reason why it did so good is because Tom Cruise just wanted to make a fun movie.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the thing that's going to, the single factor that's going to contribute most to a movie's success is whether or not it's good.
Yeah.
Now, plenty of good movies have bombed at the box office, but that's the biggest thing you can do. Now, it's not as simple as, okay, let's check the box. Did we make it good or did we make it bad?
Yeah.
There's a bit of alchemy in movie making.
Yeah.
But caring helps.
Yeah.
A big part of it is, are you pushing boundaries of technology? Like George Lucas, Star Wars, all of them.
Can we show something they've never seen before?
Yeah. Can we push technology and can we push ourselves? And Tom Cruise was of the same mindset. Peter Jackson was of the same mindset. And we will remember these filmmakers and actors and producers for all of film history, because these are the guys that said, here's a gargantuan task that may be something that nobody could have imagined or could have done, but we're going to do it anyway, and we're going to be smart, and we're going to find out how. We're going to advance technology and change filmmaking forever. All of them have done that.
Yeah, I mean, Spielberg, I remember watching a documentary on him. It was like, he just would try and come up with different ways to do stuff. Tom Cruise, he got all the actors and taught them how to do the positioning of the camera in the cockpit. That was news to me.
Yeah. Because the director, he couldn't exactly call up on his cell phone and talk to the people up in the jets. It was just Tom Cruise talking on the radio with all the other actors in the jets. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's run our lines. Let's do the scenes.
Yeah.
So, innovate. Have fun.
Be creative. Innovate. Don't worry so much about
your political.
What you want to convey. That's fine, because George Lucas, Peter Jackson, they thought about those things, but really think about how can we make this the best we can.
Right.
How can we push forward filmmaking in ways that others could only dream about. You know. So.
Okay, I just thought of this, and I'll say it now. Marvel has succeeded because of its formula. Not to say that it hasn't innovated, but it has found a winning formula, and it's made countless billions.
Yep.
When was the last time you were excited to go watch the next Marvel movie?
Endgame.
Yeah, Endgame. And there's only one movie, though, that I actually rewatched, and that's Winter Soldier.
And they've had like 20 projects in between 2019 and now.
Many of which I've looked forward to. Many of them I've really liked, like Spider-Man or Shang-Chi or Moon Knight.
I love Moon Knight.
That one's surprising. I wasn't excited. I was worried about Spider-Man No Way Home. But that was a good film. Go watch it.
Formula, if you find a winning formula, it can work for a long time. But you can't just depend on doing the same thing over and over again.
Right. It's like when my sister, who's pretty not a Marvel fan, she said, Lord of the Rings are better than all the Marvel films, or any of the Marvel films put together. Changed my mind. I said, I'm not even going to bother. You're correct.
You're right.
These are better films. And the formula has worked, but it's petering out. They've got to pull something out of their bag of tricks pretty soon.
Must innovate or die.
Innovate or die. Innovate and push forward, because we can see they're not innovating. And when people criticize that, don't make it about the people that are
We're not criticizing the actors.
Even the guys doing the CGI.
They're overworked, underpaid.
We can tell, and that is okay that we can tell, because you're not innovating anymore.
Yeah, this is a problem with the studio, with the directors, and the producers.
Yeah, and we know, and the reason we point it out isn't because we want to just crap all over you. It's because we know you can do better.
We used to love this stuff, and we're tired of liking it or saying, maybe the next one will be good. We want to say, I loved it, or, okay, I didn't love this one, but I know I'll love the next one.
And it's just heartbreaking when you think about the people, the innovators, the guys in the technology and the guys in the chairs. And they see the slate for, like, Phase 5 and 6, and you say, can you imagine the headache and the conniptions that must occur there? They're like, I'm already swamped. Have you seen the She-Hulk? It's not a good technology. It's just not good.
Like, it's impressive they're doing it on TV budget, but they're not doing it. It's not succeeding.
It's not working, and so these guys are just, they're swamped, and we're tired of it too. Give them a break. Slow down. Pull back. Content isn't everything. Quality is. You can have us if you innovate and give us quality.
Yeah. Okay. Well. I don't have any other things to add to that. You summed it up pretty well.
Where can they find us?
They can find us at Anchor.fm. What I said earlier. Come on, guys, please subscribe. It's only $4.99 a month, guys. Please. Yeah, you go there. That's also where you can have our audio. So if you can't watch the shows that we have usually on Saturdays, which I have a new computer coming in soon, we might be able to fix this.
Yes.
But
technical difficulties shall soon be disappearing.
it would have been fixed sooner if you guys just subscribed. But also, you can find us on Twitter at of Cinematics, and here on YouTube. Share it with your friends. I got nothing else.
All right. Well, if that's
It's been a while since I've been on the show.
it's been a while for all of us. We're a little rusty. Well, if that's the case, we're gonna let y'all go. So this has been the World of Cinematics signing off.